Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Hart, and today I'll be breaking down this two-game Monday Night Football slate we have here on DraftKings. $1 million up top to first place. So I'll be talking through my favorite picks, my favorite plays, building out a potential DFS lineup for you guys to use tonight here in this video. So make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. If we get to 15 likes in this video, that'd be great. But yeah, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and let's get into this breakdown. So before we get into the breakdown, like to look at the spread and game totals for these two games tonight. We have the Saints Panthers 3 point spread, 39.5 game total, and then the Browns Steelers 2 point spread, 38 game total. So not the highest game totals, as you can see, 38 and 39.5. So hopefully they're high scoring, hopefully they're good games, but could be a night where we lean into the defenses a little bit. So before I get into the breakdown, I just want to look at the snap share, snap count percentage for every team, all four teams, real fast. So for the Saints here, we have Jamal Williams. That's kind of what stuck out to week one was they had a lot of running backs injured there on the New Orleans side. So Jamal Williams pretty much played the whole game. Tony Jones is there, but he didn't do much, as we can see here. He only played about 11% of the snaps. Prentice played a little bit. I think he is the fullback, basically. So don't have to worry about him. But yeah, the big news still is Kamara obviously still out. Benjamin on IR. Keandre Miller is questionable. If he's back, I do think he could eat into Jamal Williams' snap share a little bit, but still, I think he's gonna have a dominant hold on that backfield there. Still, as you can see, 75% of the snaps he did play. For the receiver situation, Michael Thomas 80%, Olave 78%, Rashid 54%. Then they did mix in some Keith Kirkwood 34%. In tight end situation, it was pretty much the Jawan Johnson show. Foster Moreau did play about 50% of the snaps alongside Jawan Johnson. They did do some double tight end sets. So that's kind of the snap share or snap count percentage for the Saints. Moving on to the Panthers real quick. Pull them up here. Carolina Panthers. Running back situation, 57% for Miles Sanders, 36% for Chuba. So about a 60-40 split there for those running backs. Wide receiver, T. Marsh, 90%, Thielen, 88, Mingo, 88, and Chevault, about 32. So pretty heavy three wide receiver sets with Mingo, Thielen, and Marshall. Look mixed, a little bit of Chenault in there. For tight end situation, 53% Hayden Hurst, Trimble, Thomas, Richie, all kind of mixed in as well. But it's really the Hayden Hurst show. And then moving on to Cleveland here. We have Chubb, about 50%. Drum 4 did play a decent amount there, 41%. I don't expect that number to be the same as it was week one. I expect a lot more Nick Chubb. For the receiver situation, Cooper is probably hurt. So Donovan Peoples Jones, about 90%. Elijah Moore, I expect that number to probably go up even more, probably closer to 75, 80. And then for the third wide receiver situation, I expect a mix of Tillman, Bell, and Goodwin. As you can see, they all pretty much played the same amount of snaps. With Cooper out, I think they're just gonna filter those snaps down to Tillman, Bell, and Goodwin, and have a good mix of all three of them. For tight ends, about 75% Njoku, 35 Bryant, Akins did play as well, so they did use a good mix of tight ends there for Cleveland. And then moving on to Pitt, real fast here. Boom. Running backs, about 52% for Najee, 34 or 40 for Warren. So almost a close, even split there for the wide receiver situation. 89% for Pickens, Allen, 89%, Calvin Austin, 56. Deontay was only 43 because he got hurt and missed most of the second half of this game. He's not going to be playing tonight. So expect big numbers for Pickens, Robinson, and Austin again in terms of the snaps. And they'll probably mix in Miles Boykin a little bit. For tight ends, Freiermuth, 51%, Darnell Washington, 38, Connor Hayward, 27. And then that's it for that. So with all that information, now let's dive into the slate here. So as I mentioned, the big news on the slate right now is that uh, Keandre Miller information there for the running back situation for the Saints. Carolina, not much news on the Carolina side. For Cleveland, our big news there is going to be Amari Cooper. And then for Pittsburgh, the big news there is obviously Deontay Johnson. So we do have some options if you want to get a little bit more contrarian with your picks. But starting off here with the quarterback situation, my favorite quarterback is going to be Deshaun Watson. He has the highest ceiling in terms of scoring for the slate when it comes to passing and the rushing upside there. As we can see, 45 yards, one touchdown rushing. So he just has the biggest ceiling just because of that rushing upside. So I think he's my favorite play, but I think the most optimal play right now probably would be Derek Carr, just because of how much he throws the ball. One for 305, one touchdown against Tennessee. So yeah, I mean, it's like splitting hairs between Watson and Carr for me, but they are by far obviously the both best options on the slates compared to Bryce Young, Kenny Pickett. Um, the Kenny Pickett and Bryce Young are just gonna be more of your contrarian plays for this slate. Sure, they could have solid games, but really, I just prefer going the safer route, going to Watson or Carr. I prefer Carr or Watson a little bit more just because of that rushing upside, but they both look like strong options. So right now, I'm going to throw Deshaun Watson in my lineup. For the running back situation, I think Nick Chubb is almost just a must play, just an auto lock for this slate. A lot of people are overreacting to Jerome Ford playing a lot of snaps, but as you can see, Nick Chubb still had a great game, 18 for 106, caught 4 targets as well. So if he's going to see that production out of the backfield with both rushes and targets, really, really like Nick Chubb there. Najee, I just can't do it for me. He almost had a 50-50 split there with Warren, so I think I'd rather take a shot on Warren unless Najee's super low owned. Then you could definitely take a look at Najee there. But it's hard to really like Najee in this spot. Jamal Williams, I do like him a good amount. Once again, if there's no Keandre Miller, Williams should be in line for another huge day running the ball. Obviously, he wasn't very efficient, 18 for 45, but he did get 2 targets as well. So I do like Jamal Williams a good amount there, 6,000. Moving on to the other running backs, I do really like Miles Sanders. It was about a 60-40% snap there, but he saw 18 rushing attempts and did see 6 targets, which is a little bit of an outlier probably, but still, if he's gonna see those many attempts and targets out of the backfield, for a guy who's 5,700, really, really like that. Chuba would just be more of a pivot play. He did see some targets and some attempts, but still would probably prefer go to Miles Sanders. Warren gonna be more of that better cheap option there out of all these running backs. Didn't really get much running attempts, but he is a threat out of the backfield. Did see 6 targets, caught 5. So I think he'd be my favorite cheap running back on the slates right now. Tony Jones, as I mentioned, didn't play much. If there's Keandre Miller, you don't really have to go to him. If there is Keandre Miller, I guess you could go to him as like a contrarian play. We still don't know how much he would play. So right now, I just feel safe to go on Jamal Williams. Jerome Ford did, get 15 rushes for 36 yards. I just kind of think that's how the game script went. It was kind of bad by both offenses. Uh, the Browns just decided to run the ball, keep Chubb healthy and not wear him down. So they did, rush Jerome Ford out there a decent amount, but still, it's hard to really trust or like Jerome Ford in that spot. I guess you could go to him, but it's more of a dart throw there. And that's really it for the running back situation. The best running back is obviously Nick Chubb. And then I really, really like Jamal Williams and Sanders just because of the amount of attempts they get out of the backfield. We should be getting about 20 to 25 attempts from both these guys, Chubb and Williams combined. And even, Miles Sanders, you could definitely fit him in there as well if you want to. For the wide receiver situation, since we have Deshaun, we're going to want to stack him with his wide receivers. Cooper is most likely going to miss. So right now, really like getting into Elijah Moore. He saw a good amount of targets there, 7 in that last game there. He's got to step up, probably be wide receiver one alongside Donovan Peoples-Jones, who is 3,700, great value down there. But I'd rather pair him up with Njoku. Chris Olave, really like him. Obviously, by far the best wide receiver on the slate. Saw 10 targets, caught 8 for 112. He's just a beast, absolute beast. So going to throw him in there into that lineup. In terms of other wide receivers, I do like Thomas a good amount. Saul 8 targets, caught 5 for 61. He looks pretty solid in his first game back there. Pickens is more of just a boomer bust play for me. 7 targets, caught 5 for 36. It's just Pickett really struggles to throw the ball downfield. So I don't like the Steelers wide receivers unless you're going to go with one of the cheaper guys who, like a Fryermuth, who should catch a good amount of targets. If they do get in the red zone, he's a great red zone threat. Who else we got here? Allen Robinson, I think he's a fine play. Can't really get separation. Did see 8 targets. It's just more of one of those things where it's like, I don't know. It's hard to really trust the Steelers wide receivers. Rashid Shaheed looks solid. He only played 56% of the snaps, but he did get targeted a lot when he was out there. So he looks like a good option there. A very, not boomer bust play, but kind of along those lines. Like he catches a lot of deep throws. Um, Chark is questionable for the Carolina Panthers. If he's in, he'll probably be the third wide receiver. That it's kind of the big news there. So stay up to date on my Twitter for that news there for Carolina. But still, I don't really love the Panthers wide receivers in this matchup. Um, the Saints defense is pretty solid. Thielen, Mingo, not for me. Rather get to Peoples Jones. I do like Calvin Austin a good amount there. Saw 6 targets, caught 6 for 37. Once again, Pickett really struggles to push the ball down the field, so it's all really short range, intermediate stuff there for the Steelers. But I do like him as a cheap option. And that is pretty much it. There's no one really under 3,000 you have to go to. There is like Goodwin, Bell, as I mentioned, these Cleveland Browns wide receivers with no Cooper. So it's going to be Peoples Jones, Moore, Goodwin, um, Bell. He mixed in there for a little bit, but I don't really think there's a need to get to those guys unless you're really, really trying to get contrarian, which you can on the slate because obviously you want to win $1 million to first. Moving on to the tight end switch situation here. Uh, I really like the Njoku, Fryermuth. They are both best options. Juwan Johnson's a very sneaky play there. 5 targets. We know Derek Carr really likes his tight ends, so Juwan Johnson looks like a very solid option. First, I do think a lot of people are going to chase this game. 7 targets, caught 5 for 41 in a touchdown. He looks solid, but if DJ Chark is back, that could eat up some more targets this week going to Hurst. So kind of more of a wait and see approach there for me. Moving on to the tight end situation, you can always take a shot on Taysom Hill. They will use him for a few plays. He could always vulture a goal line TD. So I think he's one of the strongest like contrarian options on the slates, even though he's not going to get a ton of run, but he always has that vulture upside. Harrison Bryant should see some targets, but still really just prefer getting to the top end guys here. No real need to get down to any of these bottom guys. It's really just kind of the top 4 or 5 for me, and that's it. So right now, going to throw in Njoku for that Deshaun Watson stack. To fill out the rest of this lineup, going back to wide receivers, um, I guess you can do an onslaught if you want. Let's just go back. Let's take out Njoku, put in Peoples Jones. Then we'll put in Fryermuth as the kind of bring back there. And then in terms of defense, best defense is probably going to be the Browns there, 3,300. But let's just go with the Saints. Don't mind them at 3,700. 5,500 left over. We can get to Michael Thomas there. Don't mind that. Right now we have a good amount of Cleveland Browns guys. Do have the wide receiver for the Saints, Olave and Jamal Williams. So maybe if we wanted to get to like a Panther, we can throw in a Chuba. I don't mind that. Uh, Not getting a ton of looks there, but still, I think he's a solid option. You could always pay down from the Saints, and you could pay up to like Miles Sanders if you wanted to. But right now, let's just throw in. We'll throw in a Warren, keep it within this game here. Cleveland should probably be up. Pittsburgh will probably be playing from behind. We can get those pass attempts and those, a little bit of rushing attempts, mostly pass attempts out of the backfield from Warren. I think that's solid there. So there's a potential lineup. Hope you guys like the video. As I said, a really strong, really high on Derek Carr, Deshaun Watson, running back situation. I really think you just want to stay within Chubb, Jamal Williams, and Miles Sanders. Wide receivers, Elijah Moore, Chris Olave, Donovan Peoples-Jones, really like the, kind of the Cleveland Browns wide receivers. And then tight end situation, really like Fryermuth, Njoku. They're both strong options, even Juwan Johnson. And then, yeah, that's really it for, the defenses. I think it doesn't really matter. It really comes down to who gets those touchdowns, defensive stops. But I think by far the Browns are the best ones, and then Saints, and then I'd say probably Panthers, Steelers, or Steelers, Panthers. But yeah, that's video for you guys. Hope you guys liked the video. Hit the like button, and let's see you in the next video.